Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? Today we're tackling something that's both fascinating and a little bit scary. Gold.
Gold, especially gold bars, seems to hold a special kind of allure.
It does. But with that allure comes, unfortunately, a whole world of scams.
Absolutely. It's a target for scammers because, let's be honest, who wouldn't want to get their hands on a gold bar?
Exactly. So in this deep dive, we're going to learn how to protect ourselves. In my research, I even came across this crazy story about a gold bar that was mostly tungsten.
Wow, that's a classic, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah, we've got a lot to unpack here, but first, I think it's important to define what we're actually talking about. What exactly are gold brick scams?
Well, at its core, a gold brick scam is any scheme where someone tries to deceive you about the value or authenticity of gold, usually to make a profit.
So it's not just about fake bars.
Nope, not at all. It can take many forms. There's the classic counterfeit bar, of course, but there are also scams where the gold is real, but the price is inflated.
Ah, so they're playing on people's desire for a good deal.
Exactly. One common tactic is to create a sense of urgency. They'll say something like, "This is a limited time offer," or "The price of gold is about to skyrocket."
Oh, I bet they love to throw around those once-in-a-lifetime opportunity phrases.
All the time. They prey on people's emotions, making them feel like they have to act fast or miss out.
So it's all about bypassing that rational, let me do my research part of the brain.
You got it. Another common tactic is to create a story.
A story? Like what?
Well, they might say the gold is from a sunken treasure ship, or that it belonged to a famous historical figure.
Wow. So they're trying to make it seem more valuable by adding this whole narrative around it.
Exactly. And people get so caught up in the story that they forget to ask the important questions like, is this price even realistic?
It's like they're selling the dream along with the gold. Are there any real-life examples of this kind of scam?
Oh, plenty. There was this one case where a scammer sold historically significant gold bars at a ridiculously inflated price. Well, he promised the buyer that the bars would appreciate in value because of their historical significance. But when the buyer finally had them assessed,
They were fake.
not fake, but just ordinary gold bars, nothing special, and of course, by then the scammer had disappeared.
Ooh, that's got to be heartbreaking to realize you've been duped like that.
It is, and that's why it's so important to do your research and be aware of these tactics.
Speaking of research, one thing that always comes up when talking about gold is assaying. Can you explain what that is and why it's so important?
Sure. Assaying is basically a test to determine the purity and composition of a metal. It's crucial when buying gold because it tells you exactly what you're getting.
So it's like a scientific verification process.
Yeah, exactly. They use sophisticated techniques to analyze the metal and tell you how much gold it actually contains.
So even if a gold bar looks the part, it could still be a fake.
Oh, absolutely. Scammers have become very sophisticated in their techniques.
So if someone is thinking about buying gold bars, getting them assayed should be at the top of their to-do list.
Without a doubt, it's the only way to be absolutely sure of what you're buying. Think of it as your gold insurance policy.
I like that. Gold insurance. Okay, so we've talked about inflated prices and fake historical significance. What are some other red flags to look out for?
One big one is the use of fake certificates. You might see a certificate that claims the gold is certified by a reputable organization, but it's completely bogus.
Ah, so they're using that trust and authority to trick people.
Exactly. And that's why it's crucial to verify everything. Don't just take someone's word for it, no matter how official they seem.
Got it. Always double check, especially when it comes to something as valuable as gold. Now, I know we've got a lot more to cover, including the psychology behind these scams and how to protect yourself, but we'll save that for next time.
Yeah, there's a lot more to uncover. Stay tuned, folks. Welcome back to our deep dive into gold bar scams. Last time we talked about some of the tactics scammers use, like inflated prices and fake certificates.
Yeah, it's amazing how creative they can get. But what I find even more fascinating is the psychology behind these scams. How do they actually get people to fall for them?
That's a great question. You know, a lot of it comes down to understanding how our brains work. We humans are wired to respond to certain triggers.
Triggers, like what?
Well, one of the most powerful is the scarcity principle.
Scarcity. Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Basically, when we believe something is scarce or in limited supply, we tend to value it more.
Ah, so it's that fear of missing out feeling, like when you see a sale that's ending soon and you feel like you have to buy it.
Exactly. And scammers use this to their advantage. They'll create a sense of urgency by saying things like, this offer is only available for a limited time, or the price of gold is going up tomorrow.
So they're basically putting pressure on people to make a quick decision without really thinking it through.
Exactly. And when we're under pressure, we're more likely to make emotional decisions rather than rational ones. And they also love to play on our trust and authority.
Oh, right. We were talking about those fake certificates earlier.
Yeah, those are a classic example.
No.
But it goes beyond that. They might use impressive titles, name-drop industry organizations, or even create fake testimonials.
So they're trying to make themselves seem more credible.
Exactly. They know that people are more likely to trust someone who appears to be an expert or who has the backing of a reputable organization.
Makes sense. It's like our brains are wired to defer to authority figures. But how can we avoid falling into that trap?
Well, the first step is awareness. Just knowing that these tactics exist can help you be more cautious. And then it's all about verification.
Verification. So don't just take their word for it.
Exactly. Do your own research, check their credentials, look for independent reviews, and never be afraid to ask questions.
It's like that saying, trust but verify. Speaking of verification, one thing that I think is really important when it comes to buying gold is understanding the market. I mean, gold prices fluctuate all the time, right?
They do. Gold is a global commodity, and its price is influenced by a whole range of factors, from supply and demand to economic conditions.
So how can someone stay on top of those changes? Are there any resources you recommend?
Oh, absolutely. There are plenty of reputable websites and financial publications that track gold prices. You can also find apps that give you real-time updates.
So it's important to do your homework and know what the current market value of gold is before making any purchases.
Absolutely. If someone is offering you gold at a price that seems too good to be true, it probably is. That's a huge red flag.
It's like that old saying, if something sounds too good to be true.
It probably is. You got it. And, another thing to be wary of is high-pressure sales tactics.
Oh, yeah, like those limited time offers we were talking about earlier, the ones that make you feel like you have to act N now W or miss out.
Exactly. Legitimate sellers won't pressure you into making a decision. They'll give you the time and space you need to do your research and feel comfortable with your purchase.
It's like they're trying to bypass your common sense and just appeal to that impulsive part of your brain.
They are. And it works, unfortunately. But if you can recognize those tactics and step back and take a breath, you're much less likely to fall victim.
So it's all about staying calm, being informed, and not letting those emotions take over.
Exactly.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground here today. We've talked about the psychology behind these scams, the tactics scammers use, and some red flags to watch out for.
We have. But what happens if, despite all this knowledge, someone still finds themselves the victim of a gold bar scam? What should they do?
That's a great question, and we'll tackle that head-on when we come back. Welcome back to our deep dive. We've been talking all about gold bar scams, and I gotta say, it's been a real eye-opener.
Right. There's so many ways people can get tricked, especially when something as valuable as gold is involved.
Exactly. But what strikes me is that a lot of these scam tactics aren't limited to just gold.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, the psychology behind them, that pressure to act quickly, the appeal to authority, you see that everywhere.
You really do. It's like once you start to recognize these patterns, you see them everywhere, not just with gold.
Yeah, it's like you've leveled up your scam detecting radar.
That's a great way to put it.
So for everyone listening, think about it. Where else do you see these same tactics being used?
Good question. I think one of the biggest areas is investments.
Investments. Yeah, okay, I can see that.
Those opportunities that promise unbelievably high returns with little or no risk.
Oh, yeah, the ones that sound too good to be true.
Exactly. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is, especially when it comes to your money.
Okay, so investments, what else?
Think about online shopping, social media, even just everyday interactions.
Oh, wow, yeah, like those influencer endorsements where they're raving about some product.
Exactly. Always do your research before you buy anything.
And don't let those glowing reviews sway you too easily.
Right. Sometimes those reviews aren't even real.
Okay, so we've got to be extra cautious in the digital world, for sure.
Absolutely. But the good news is, the skills you learn from understanding gold bar scams, like being skeptical, doing your research, and verifying information, those are transferable to almost any situation.
It's like we're giving everyone a toolkit for spotting deception.
Exactly. It's all about empowering yourself with knowledge and using that knowledge to make smart decisions.
Well said. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, from the specific tactics used in gold bar scams to the broader psychology of deception.
And how to protect yourself, both online and offline.
Exactly. So hopefully everyone listening is feeling a little bit more informed and a lot more prepared to spot those scams a mile away.
That's our goal. And remember, knowledge is your best defense.
I love that. Knowledge is power. So stay curious, ask questions, and keep learning. And hey, if you have any thoughts or questions about today's deep dive, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, join the conversation.
You can find us on social media or drop us an email. And until next time, happy diving, everyone.